Now that Peter is here, we can start. All right, we have got a quorum. Hopefully Peter will rejoin us online. First order of business is to accept the minutes of the March 25th regular meeting. Do I have a motion? Excellent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, Terry.
So,
He's not there yet, so
Great.
keep on chugging. Visitor comments. Is there anybody that wants to bring up anything that is not already on the agenda? Hearing,
Is that on?
no, I think it's a cursor.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, it's just twice a week.
You know. It has gotten me before.
Just wanna make sure. Great.
Welcome back, Peter.
Hi, I've lost my connection. I may lose it occasionally, but I approve everything and I second everything and
Well,
my
we've already,
vote is aye.
we're through the minutes and it looks like there's no visitor comments, so we will move to ferry service update and Peter Wilcox is here in person.
There are two questions I'm gonna have for you eventually. The next advisory board meeting is June 21st, so none of this is imminent. But you're gonna need to have a feeling about the financial subcommittee. It was proposed by the ferry service at the last meeting that committee be eliminated. To fill you in on some of the background, that committee has been myself, Dave, and John Emerson, and also John King has been helping us out. John Emerson retired, so at the moment it's only Islesboro. John did catch at the last estimate, $1 million error in that the ferry service had made in the, I can't remember the name of the report. But anyway, that's unusual, doesn't usually happen. But I can see a good reason for having the subcommittee. One of the things that came up in this last meeting was that we're spending $370,000 on having the ferry sleep on the islands in overtime for the crews. That has gone under a heading of transportation in state, and about 15,000 of it is in transportation costs. The other 370,000 is in costs for the boats to sleep on the island. And those of you that are familiar, all the ferry crews, I think, get about $8 an hour or a set rate of about $68 or $70, something like that, for spending a night on the island at the crew quarters. That's their overtime bonus. I just thought that we, as a ferry advisory board, should be aware of that. I don't know if it'll get broken down in the next minutes or not. I'm sort of a proponent of the financial subcommittee. I'm certainly no financial wizard, but I just hang on and I've learned a lot about how the ferry service is operating by being a part of it. John King and Gabe are the ones that really drive the committee. Anyway, so there's that question. And the other question is, they're gonna want to know what we want to do, what you want to do about safety meetings. And there's two options, and these are more or less all-day seminars for the crews on the boats to talk about different safety issues. And there's one option to do the first and the last runs of the day and then have all the ferry crews tie up the boat in Lincolnville, go to Camden and attend the seminar and come back. So we would be without a ferry that, except for the first and last runs of that day. Or what we can do is have the ferry crews come in on their day off and receive overtime for that. That would be more expensive, but we'll have to juggle that against losing a ferry for basically 80%, 90% of the day. And I've asked the state ferry service to come up with a number of what it would cost us, and then you would have a better idea of how you want to vote on the issue.
How often do they need to have them?
Excuse me?
How often do they need
At
to have
least
them?
once a year,
Okay.
I think is what they're talking about.
Is it, are we asking about the cost of having them, of paying their overtime, is that? It sounds almost like we'd have to foot that bill, is that kind of, or are they just sort of saying like, it's gonna be an expense of the ferry?
No, I think the ferry service would pay it, but I mean, we're looking at, I think it's a 12 or 15% rise in ticket costs, not this year, but the next year. So this is something that we're gonna have to take some feeling for, responsibility for, about saying how we want to do it. And I don't think you can make that decision until you know what it costs to have the crews go into Rockland on their day off.
Sure. I just don't, yeah.
We've all been asked this question. And
But
everybody will have to come up with an answer.
But
Go ahead,
Peter-
Peter.
I ask a question on the first point, the 300 and change that is being paid for to have the ferry crew sleep on Islesboro. If we didn't do that, I mean, if we said, okay, what happens to the money? I mean, there's no guarantee that they will then reduce the fares of the ferry or in any way. So, I mean, it goes back to the question of, is the state responsible for the ferry or is this a collaboration? And
Well, the state pays 50% and they rely on ticket fares to pay the other 50%. So at some point, it would affect the cost of the ticket fares. Now, seems to me the annual budget is about 15 million a year. And so 370,000 of that is not a whole heck of a lot of money. But it's something I think that we should be aware of. On Islesboro, I mean, if a crew member lives on the island, they do not get the overtime for sleeping on the island. They're not paid to sleep in their houses. They're only paid to sleep in the crew quarters. And Islesboro has a much bigger percentage of local crews than the other islands do. So most of the other islands, they're all foreigners sleeping at the crew quarters, and that's where it adds up. Islesboro is much less. I couldn't give you a figure on it.
but
I mean, to me,
the idea that Islesboro, that we were going to subsidize the ferries going to other islands by, raising the fare on the ferry. I just have no confidence that this is a negotiation that's fair. The ferry service has in the past raised the rates for all sorts of reasons, including the fact that our revenues had to be shared with other islands. And I have no confidence if we agreed to save $300,000 by having the ferries docked somewhere else, that we would accrue anything like $300,000 of reduced expense or half of it.
Well, and I guess I'm just to clarify in my own mind, I think the way that I understood it was not necessarily that we're being asked to make any decision on that. It's more one of the benefits of having the finance subcommittee is having additional transparency into the ferry service budget. Not that they're asking us to make any kind of specific decision, but it gives us more information to be able to assess how it's running and why costs are as they are. And that to me makes it really important to keep the finance subcommittee, just because it is so expensive and it's vital. And, I think the more transparency that we can get, the better for everybody.
Absolutely agree.
I think you exactly understood the situation.
So I'm just gonna, it's neither here nor there. No matter what, we have to pay overtime for the people that are coming in, or we're shutting down our boat 2 times. Because it's either the crew that's on the boat or the crew that's off the boat. If they have their ferry meeting, their safety meeting, 1 time to cover everybody, we're still paying the overtime for the ones that weren't working and we lose our boat. Or they're going to have multiple safety meetings and we're gonna lose the boat multiple times.
No, we would only lose it twice.
Okay.
Once for each crew.
Gotcha.
The alternative being that the crews on their off week
Right.
would
Yeah.
go into Rockland one day and do that.
No, that makes
And I
sense.
asked them to come up with a figure for how much that would cost.
Yeah, do you have a question?
No, I was just gonna say that sounds like the most reasonable way to do it, is just have the crews do it on their off time, and it's an expense of training your employees, you know, like we all, it's.
Well, how are they doing the safety training now?
I don't think they are,
Well,
but I've never done one.
okay.
But this is something that they have a new manager, E.J. DuPont, and I think it's come up. I've spoken about it a couple times. And they definitely do need to do something.
Well, I mean, it seems like them asking community members about it is just their way of trying to get a straw poll of how do we want to balance cost versus service interruption. And in some cases, it's safety meetings, but I imagine that that's something that, you know, I know that they've asked that in the past as far as, you know, the need for, can they decrease staffing costs and sacrifice reliability, basically? And, you know, so that seems to be kind of, they're constantly just sort of poking that to see what the tolerance is.
I have a question. What time of year are they proposing to do this?
So probably, my guess is the summertime,
Of course.
but I don't know that for sure. You know, that's just my guess.
Gotcha.
Probably on a Friday would be best.
4th of July weekend?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What will the ferry crew that lives on the island do if they will park it in Lincolnville? Is Josh Leach's question.
What would the ferry crew, what would the Islanders do if it were parked in Lincolnville?
Yeah, but that's not currently on the table, correct?
No.
Right,
As I understand it,
yeah,
the state legislature has voted a law that says the ferries have to sleep on the
Right,
island, so
right.
that's not up for debate.
right. No, I think, Josh, it's just a matter of understanding at the finance subcommittee, understanding more about what the cost, that there is also a cost of having crews stay on the islands, and not another proposal to move the ferry berthing.
That's correct. It just surprised me that we're spending that much money on having the work post-based on shore. That was never brought up when we were discussing the whole issue. And it just came to light because of the financial subcommittee.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait to hear more about any additional financial information you get about the safety meetings.
I think that you should wait until you get a number and then you can debate it more sensibly. In terms of the financial subcommittee, depending on how you feel, it might make sense for you to call up some other select boards and see how they feel about it. But that's completely up to you. That's just the way. I mean, this was done sort of at the end of the meeting by somebody that used to be the director that now is, and I got no
Yeah,
sympathy for it,
yeah.
but it's happening.
Maybe is this common? I'm just kind of like hung up on the concept of us being asked our opinion on how they like the financial impact of their training program. I just don't see how it seems like they're gonna find a way. This is their like soft opening for how they're going to put ferry tickets next. And if we turn around and say we'd like training to happen this way, they can turn around and put the blame on us for the expense being higher. And
I think that's exactly what they will do.
And
I think that's what they're looking for.
That's so effed up. Like, we have to have safety training. The employees have to be trained safely. So if they wanted to have it done, they need to do it the way they want to do it. You know, like to have us be now we have to decide whether our ticket prices go up as a result, or we lose ferry runs for a day as a result. Like damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Well, I think that the ticket prices will go up
No
in
matter-
twenty
Well,
twenty-seven
sure.
regardless.
Yeah,
But this is just another drop in the bucket. But I agree with you. I think they'll
I
just
think-
use it as an excuse for saying, well, we asked you and this is what you said. so-
right, and that's like. That rubs me very much the wrong way, as most things they do, but. I don't know, I still think I think they should do it in their off time, and I think we should tell them that that's obviously the logic to do. And. Express our frustration when they inevitably turn around and use that against us. You know, but. I guess we have time before we make that decision, but like, I don't know why. I don't feel the need to wait on finding out the finances of this, because it feels like we're gonna get screwed one way or the other. And so like, I don't personally. I don't need to wait on hearing how much it's gonna cost to do either one, because one way or the other is gonna have to happen, and one way or the other is gonna cost money, and. You know. I'm kind of throwing all my Mars up in the air with ferry service at this point.
It does seem like they could, in fact, all cynicism aside, plan the safety training whenever it is during the year that the ferry is least subscribed at those times.
Right.
It doesn't have to be on July 4th weekend. It could be on January 10th.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I do think like. I think it's. Ultimately their decision, right? Which is like, that's, so I think, we can. Say we understand that operationally, like, this is your decision. I think it doesn't hurt to have more financial information to understand, like, hey, if if, like, as Peter said, if it could be done in one of the slower times, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't have the faith that they would listen to that, though, like, I think they're, but maybe,
Right.
I just don't, we've tried to push our opinions so many times with these guys, and I don't see how we're gonna have any impact on this anyway, but.
Well, I just feel like if they're asking our opinion, I want us to have I think we should have a genuine response.
Sure, but I think we should indicate that we're cognizant of what they're doing. Like, I'm the type to like not let people kind of, not. I feel like it's important for them to know that we're kind of like onto their game in a way. And I feel,
Yeah, but you can't call it, I mean,
maybe you can't call it like that
Yeah, I mean-
fairly, but
you could throw, another approach would be, look, you have to run this training.
right,
You have to determine it works best for the employees as well as the community you serve. It seems reasonable to do it in a very off-season peak. And we look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on it and throw it back to them and let them come back to us with something. And then it's not we're not telling them, we're asking, here's the suggestion, talk about it, come back, and then we can do what they say. But you can't kind of come at the conspiracy side. I feel what you're saying.
the thing is that yeah, I think we spend a lot of time kind of, I don't want to say kowtow into the ferry service, but effectively kind of playing the nice guy with them. And it seems like it just doesn't really get us anywhere ever. And I think, rather than continue to just sort of, I don't know, I just don't, it doesn't sit well with me the way they've been acting. I question whether we're like truly holding their feet to the fire as much as we should be as a taxpayer funded program to make sure that they're, I don't really know what I'm trying to say, other than like, I just see this as another attempt at their way to put their bad decision off onto us, and then we have to deal with it no matter what, whether they make it or we make it, we're all gonna suffer in one way or another, and I think, I don't know, I feel like we roll over to them a lot, and I just don't want to do that.
I mean, I don't think there's any rolling over, like, it needs to happen no matter what, there is an impact, right? And so them at least saying,
Sure.
hey, this is something that we're considering. It's being weighed, right? Like,
Sure, yeah, I mean,
all right,
well,
it seems like perhaps we can move on from this discussion right now.
Yep.
Thank you, Peter. Sea level rise update, our next committee meeting is tomorrow at 10:30. here and via Zoom. And one of the things that we're going to discuss is the good news is that it seems as though the FEMA BRIC program has been reinstated. So there may be the potential for more funding available, but you know, all of it is competitive, but we'll see. Update on public safety garage or public safety renovations?
Yeah, we had a meeting this afternoon on the renovations. Thanks, Peter. Had a meeting this afternoon here, the renovations. And we have Ron here, the contractor, Pete, Mert, Fred, you know, I'm here. Laura, everybody was there. And we're gonna appear like next week. Ron wants to fill in on rainy days, start the work. So final clean out is gonna occur between now and next week. And they're gonna start the demolition side of it. So everybody seems, you know, I think today was a good meeting to get everything clear as to what needed to be done and, you know, getting Ron assured of what he's doing. And so that's that. Anything to add to that, Bert?
Yeah, the work plan is only addressing the meeting room area for increasing in size by removing some few walls that was my old office to make the meeting room bigger and to prep and get ready for the new kitchen area. That's what's focused on now. There's another project in renovation at a later point. But that's what they're focused
Yeah,
on.
it's phased. So what we met on this as a select board 6 months ago, maybe 5 or 4, but we approved expenditure for a phase 2. So what we're doing is phase 2 now.
Awesome.
So, and I asked Bert if anything had happened up, because I've been out of town, and he said, still there.
Right, yeah, there's some up island station. It's still quiet there. We were hopeful for CMP hookup. There's a small hiccup there, but hope to be resolved and get power established there. And then whenever the contractor returns, we knew he was disappearing for a month.
Yep.
So we got a little bit better weather now.
Yeah.
Hopefully something will take place.
Great.
That's it.
Any questions? All right, upcoming meetings, planning board, April 13th. Town offices are closed for Patriots Day on the 20th.
The ferry ticket committee is having a public information night on the 14th.
And is that only Zoom, or will there be someone who knows something in the room here?
That will be here as well as on Zoom.
Will it be Gabe or?
I'm not sure.
Besides just.
John hasn't informed me who will be running it from
Yeah,
there.
it'd be nice if.
but
if
he'll be on
people
Zoom.
Did come here, it'd be nice to talk to someone. But
Do you want to just reach out to John and ask him?
I think I will, or have you been dealing with him?
A little bit. I can.
Do you mind just asking him if he's spoken to Gabe? It would come better from him asking, or.
Yeah.
Peter to do her.
Sounds good. Janet, town manager report.
I've given you, Lighthouse Committee minutes from March 26th. All your correspondence is gonna be coming up next, from Bill Thomas regarding energy. Handouts, I've given you an April 6th IBM fiber maintenance flyer. Work is going on this week. We've probably all seen this Hawker Eye fiber optics out doing, OMTs, are there OMTs?
Well, that's been long overdue, and I think they're gonna be here all week. I've given you the March 31st Bar Harbor Wealth Management Suffolk County's capital reserves. And I've included, I think, and I know I've already sent you this, but I'm including in the minute the Waldo County Budget Committee's 2026 tax bill in the amount of $1,195,163.07. And just, Tina just gave me this afternoon an update on outstanding broadband accounts. It's around 15 people, and it's $5,800. So, getting
Questions for Jana?
I might have missed it. Did we ever get a reply back to the, where are we at with the litigation with the assessor to challenge our valuations?
He was just here today and he said that there's a deadline for that. It would have been last November 15th. You have so many days from when the state issues it. And it would be very difficult to do that. He said he doesn't know any town that's done it and been successful. So I'm not sure how you would convince them that they made a mistake in their valuations.
So he was
They go
notified,
by sales.
right, he was notified in November that our valuation was jumping that high. Did we know that?
I probably gave a copy to everybody, but
We're
Were
going
you-
to look into in the next coming years. To see what they do, because if it wasn't anything that was flagged by him to bring it to our attention. That the sales jumped that high, cause we're the only ones that have had. I went through, again, everybody else had like
What?
20,000,
Well,
their valuations.
I mean, I
Yeah.
no, they're quite, I mean, there are a lot of them,
mean,
but the amounts are high.
right, I mean, based on the brief email that we received from,
Rob?
I was gonna say Vern,
Oh.
about just kind of the methodology that is a challenge based on sales. I mean, I think I think where we may have a leg to stand on is understanding the difference between our town
And that's me.
assessed value and the state assessed value and how that relates relative to other towns in Waldo County and the state value and their assessed value, just to understand, like, if they are similarly inflated, then it's not that big a deal. If they're not similarly inflated, then it feels like there isn't this, some disparity there that actually impacts our taxes.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where the real estate is that sold pieces out here,
Right.
of course, are higher than they are in Burnham or Prospect.
Right.
Places like that, and don't have water, the waterfront properties.
Right, no, I mean, our assessed value is definitely going to be higher than some of the other communities, but the state assessment is just is significantly higher than the town assessment.
Well, it's based on sales,
Right,
that's,
right,
you can't hide them, they come in here and they audit all the sales, and
yeah,
so you can't, not that you would fudge anything here, you can't say. Whereas the town is based on the values,
all right.
but,
Yeah, well, it would be good to make sure that it's kind of flagged in November, or you said we
he
receive
said
those in,
mid-November.
it would be good to just be on the lookout for that next year, so that when there is the opportunity to appeal, at least there can be a discussion at the board level about if it makes sense to pursue something.
See, it's me. I don't understand math. How in the world can ours go up almost $100,000 and it's 15% increase? And Belmont's went up $10,000 and theirs is a 10% increase. Like,
It depends on,
But their original,
it's 633 to 730
Yeah, I mean,
is
it's,
100,000.
it'll,
That's the millions.
minus that divided by,
Right.
and that's the
Right.
percentage, yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? How,
it depends on the value of the property that's sold in the year. That is what Janet was saying, is basically like, they audit what property is sold in any given year, and then that is how the state adjusts the assessed value.
Right.
So Burnham might have been very low sales, low price sales, you know, if they're all.
Right, but it's the percentages that get me. Off of your
Yes.
paper, you have the percentages listed next to yours. And Alsberg's valuation only went up 15.3%. With $1 million increase, it only went up 15.3 according to them. Liberty went from 254 million to 294 million, and they have a 15% increase.
It's still based on that original amount,
Yeah, I have,
you know. I think you all have this sheet.
No, we have a different sheet. You gave us this sheet.
About
that. That's the one that we got from Waldo County.
Waldo County. I'll make sure you get copies of this.
According to their sheet, everybody went up between 10 and 15%. In my brain, it's a me problem. I don't see how $100 million is the same as 50 million.
I guess I don't have, not having the spreadsheet right in front of me, I need to look at it more.
And it doesn't matter, we can't do
I'll
it.
make sure.
Yeah.
Copies.
Okay,
That's what we have now anyway, so.
Yeah, it's too late.
okay, any other questions for Janet? Under correspondence, we just have the detailed emails from Bill Thomas. I wasn't expecting necessarily a discussion about it, but just,
And I didn't know if he would, I did send him the agenda. and
I don't think that we necessarily need, I just want to make sure that people saw it. I mean, it's a lot of detail, the details. So, yeah, which is great. It's complex and I appreciate the Energy Committee doing so much work to.
I know.
So to answer the last paragraph of this one about the email sent from Bill on the 24th references a question of asking if the Energy Committee has fulfilled their obligation to seek island contractors. And the last paragraph is do we have authorization to proceed with the information. I mean, not that I want to go over all of it.
And then I
trust
told him
them, know what
to-
they're talking about, but.
You already told them.
I told him we did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
'Cause I was just trying to get refreshed in my mind what they're doing. They have, you know, so many projects.
Right.
And that one, that's about the garage. I believe the fire. barn.
Weather sealed inside the generator room and the fire station.
Yeah, I just wanted him to clarify.
Yeah.
And they took it to mean that went right out of it. I think, yes. Do it.
Good. All right, next up, review FY 27 budget and finalize. Just figured it would be good to put eyeball on it one last time based on the changes that we made last time. Janet, is there anything that you wanted to?
So I just received the school's budget amount in there. To add to, my summary, which I gave this to Ed today, because once I got the school figures, then we had the county tax. For him to kind of try to give us an estimate for a mill rate.
Yeah.
Potentially. And he hasn't done his, where he goes out and does assessments, you know, for this year, so, you know, this hopefully is a little bit high. Maybe he can bring in a lot of value. Based on this. And adding in I put in here a $64,855 overlay. We usually have around 75 to 100,000. It came to the mill rate was 1376.
But this says 1275.
That's this year's. Mill rate is 1275.
Sorry, so it came to what, 13?
1376. It's in the red.
Oh.
Sorry.
I ignored it, I didn't like the red, I just ignored it.
Right, that's right, yeah.
It's burning hot.
Okay,
So I don't really know how. I hope he brings in a lot of value. I mean,
can I ask a question, just, and I don't know, does he do that exclusively off of this spreadsheet?
no, he's got this calculation sheet that he does.
Right, no, well, the reason I'm asking is because in this, under total expenses for, at the very bottom line, it says 4.937 for FY 25. But the budget that we were working off of said that last year's budget total expense was $5,032,000, so. I think we sort of talked about this a little bit last time, that there was some discrepancy between the spreadsheets that we were looking at, and I am very much hoping that the 5,032,000 is what
Is accurate.
is accurate.
There's, yeah, well, it's different on both 25 and 26 are both off on the vertical sheet by what appears to be about the same amount of money. Do you notice that? If you've got 25 budget of 4.65 and then you're referencing up above it at 4.93. And then the next one is 5.032 and it's uplisted as 5.332. So there's about, it's like both of those columns are off by about the same amount.
I don't
Do we know what that
remember if
comes
there was
from?
some issue. I know, Brian, I thought we looked into that. But for this year's, I mean, it's the same thing. It's garbage in, garbage out. I mean, it's the information, same information I put over here. and I
No,
put
well,
on.
but these should, I mean, these should match. That's basic spreadsheet here. So, I mean, general government,
You see what she's saying, right?
Yeah. I was thinking something happened after the fact between changing the budget. Because again, I took these figures off mine.
right, but public works is significantly higher than what's listed here on one versus the other. I mean, obviously, there's
Yeah,
lots of them that are higher, but what I'm saying is that if he used this total to create the mill rate,
this
Higher,
then we're, right,
2%, probably because we were saying 50,000 is about 1%.
right. So it feels like a pretty important question to get clarity on, to understand year over year, was our total expenses 4.9 or was it 5, you know,
5,
right?
0.03.
I mean, it's $100,000 difference.
Right,
I will have to go back and dig out my budget notebooks and see.
Because if there's a bigger expenditure that we didn't budget for, that hit you later, we need to know it.
well, the other thing though, hopefully if there was 100,000 discrepancy, then maybe it carried through all the numbers, so we might be not 100,000 off. I'm not explaining that well.
So I mean, I think it could only be, if that number is correct, it's only bad news for us.
Cause that is $300,000 higher than we were expecting it to be,
Yeah.
because
Right,
even this one says that we only asked for 5.2. That is 5.3.
Well, so that
Right.
5.3 that is including the ferry tickets. It's in, you know, it has that extra line,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there could be a subtotal there and, you know, drop it down so that it's apples to apples, which I think, you know, we
What's that
could do.
5278 up above on the FY 27? Then you add in the ferry tickets and now it goes. up.
Right, no, I understand that. I understand that. It's the 4.9 that I don't understand.
And where's 4.9?
At the total expenses line 7.
column D, D.
Oh, you're looking up here?
No.
Oh, no, good
No.
here. Okay, yeah, well, I thought you were
So
looking at that.
4.9 there. 4.6 there. Or,
Yeah, well,
no,
26?
No, no,
No,
26, there you go.
Yeah.
We were working off of the 5032.
No,
When-
I will look into it. I'll let you know. Fine.
Okay, well, it just feels like, I'm not comfortable kind of finalizing the budget until we have an answer about that.
I think we had something similar last year too. I moved
Do we
it,
have time do we need to have a special meeting in order to
We will.
address this?
We will, but I can't tell you right now when it would be. We would, yeah, before the 22nd, before the next meeting. Because I would like to, I mean, I can't type the warrant until this is finalized, so.
Right. Well, hopefully it's an easy answer. I mean, cause this says as of 4/3/25, but this,
Yeah.
anyway, we,
Yeah, no, I see your point, yeah, I'll have Brian, we'll look
Why,
together.
why don't we get an answer to that question, you know, in the next day or two and send something around to all of us? And presumably the difference that is explainable and maybe we don't need to have another meeting.
right, no, I mean, I think if the last year's budget was the 5,032,000 that we were working off of last year, then I'm comfortable with the budget. If it is more than that, then I think I'd like to have another conversation.
I agree, 5,032,000 is for this FY 27, is that what you just said? Working on last year's budget?
No, so our FY 27, the select board recommended budget request is the $5,278,984.59. That is the total before adding in the ferry ticket.
Okay,
Right, I think that is what we agreed to and supported in our last
okay,
budget workshop. But that was assuming that that was, you know, a 4.9% increase, not a larger increase, you know, what would essentially be a 6.9% increase if
Yeah,
the other number is the total.
okay. No,
So we just need to verify the 5.032 number.
right.
yeah, I'll do it, I'm on it.
Great. Is there any other questions or things related to budget that people wanted to talk about now? All right,
Do you wanna talk about that ferry tickets? When was that gonna?
did
Where-
you, you did.
I did see you all.
The bright green paper.
The right thing paper.
I left it at home, I came early for the week, all this.
Cause I had asked Kristen about the wording that, John had come up with, and she said she thinks it looks pretty good. Is this the idea that the town would eat the cost difference between full and discounted price? And I just said yes. So then you'd have to choose, if you wanted to put something beneath that article, that I would need to know.
I mean, I think we should say the select board takes no position regarding the passage.
Okay.
Well, we did vote it down.
Yeah, then it seems like we might have to say no, right?
I mean, we don't recommend it based on the on finances, not on the merit of the warrant.
I'm reading this warrant, I know there's a lot of discussion in the past couple of years in our state politics about the wording of questions. I'm a little bit concerned that this might be too broad of a question. To raise the appropriate sum of $53,812.50 for the purpose of funding a pilot project to purchase a peak season vehicle adult, yada, yada, like, if I didn't know anything about this, I would kind of feel like this is rather open-ended, and like, if I were to go and buy a few of them and then be told all of a sudden that I had hit my maximum, like, are we just relying on everybody having read all this in detail and understanding it before they vote one way, or do we want to say that, like, to purchase like a set number of
Right,
tickets,
an opportunity to
You know,
purchase
just so that we don't set ourselves up to be
a limited number of tickets per resident on the island or something.
right, just that one little extra. I don't know, I mean,
Um,
if that like grammatically might make it weird, but it,
well, I just wonder if we could say something along the lines of, per pilot program operating guidelines or something so that it points people to the details, but doesn't, because like people would purchase 10 maybe unless they ran out of money. You know what I mean? Like I
Right, who has the money to buy 10 ferry tickets regardless of whether they're discounted or not?
that's for sure.
so,
That wasn't as slight as anything, it was just like.
yeah, no, I understand.
When you have somebody that's coming and doing it, then it's like, hey, that's not necessarily a good program. The only other thing I'm gonna point out is that this is from July through September, and it was 53,000. If you guys are gonna do it next year and continue it, then it would it's gonna be an added cost because it's gonna be June through September,
Right, and the price will be higher anyway, probably.
potentially. No, not for 2 years.
I did ask him if he wanted to reduce that price for 3 months, and he said no, because that was originally the price for 4 months.
Right. But that's the only thing that caught my attention on it, but.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, I'm sorry, but since I wasn't here,
So the committee,
well, let me just ask the question. Question is, we voted this down based on, so how is it, like, we voted a lot of things down? So why are we doing this?
because the subcommittee wrote us an email, wrote us a letter,
I read that.
okay. And so we discussed it at length. It was a painful discussion. I understand continuing this is going to be a painful discussion. I think there is not a lot of excitement for the program at the select board, but there also is recognition that if the community can decide. So to me, this is the select board recommends the $5.2 million budget.
Okay,
Um,
are we gonna have something available for people, because to Pete's point, it doesn't matter what we write on there, it's like, do you wanna spend 53,000 to help people out? Well, there'll be people say, yeah, I mean, how do people get the information that really details?
right, well, that's where John is having a number of workshops starting on the 14th. Is the first one, and those, I'm assuming that the detailed information that he has is going to be included in the town report.
Can it also be, I mean, it's gotta be, in my mind, it's something that needs to be on our website, like,
Yeah.
that people can, and we should tell people that there's gonna be this additional item, and here's, I just want people to be educated on what they're voting on, because that.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that-
Dave, Dave,
when you're-
if I could step in here, the fundamental point that you made, I believe, implied anyway, is that the select board did a massive amount of work considering every single item in the budget, whether it was the snow removal or the healthcare or the sea level rise stuff on the Middle Narrows or whatever.
Yeah,
And this is out of context. There is no suggestion here that this was in competition with anything else. This is, do you want the town to spend $53,000 subsidizing the ferry tickets or not? And my problem with it is it's completely out of context. There is no context.
yeah, it's a good point.
And I'm not
So,
how you present that at this meeting. I'm too new at this game to know how that gets presented. But my problem is that when they did the original survey, they never asked the people who were asked if they were for this or against this, where the money was going to come from or what the
Right.
impact might be on everything else.
right, and my problem with that, Peter, is I feel like we discussed that when they proposed the survey and discussed it and decided for less information for the sake of brevity. So
Right.
to me, I think probably perhaps is the simplest way to handle it is to just, as Pete suggested, just have the select board does not recommend the passage of this, and it's not part of the budget that we propose. We don't recommend the passage, but the community can decide.
Absolutely. And I'm fine with that. And after all, it's 1% of the whole budget. It's not all the tea in China.
Does that feel comfortable to folks?
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
I think going forward, we should, I don't know how, I don't foresee something like this coming up again. But is there any way for us to, as a board, require that financial proposal like this get submitted to us prior to our budget completion? Or do we have, I just don't really understand the years of this part, like. We sign up on our budget, we're gonna put it to vote, we have requirements of other organizations to get their budgets in at certain times, certain requests at certain times. And then we just gotta put this one in after we've already approved. Are we setting ourselves up for like in the future? If we say no to a project in a budget discussion, to then having a private committee of people turn around and push this to us. And is that,
So to me, I mean, they did put it, they provided it ahead of our budget process.
right?
We cut it out of the budget that we recommend. They asked us to put it in front of the taxpayers again, and I guess
Okay.
the response is we can, and we'll say the select board does not recommend the passage.
What about adding any more language to this? Did you?
Well, Pete's point I thought was good.
Yeah, I think we should add that there's, a limited number of tickets. I think it's just saying outright purchasing peak season vehicle tickets for the purpose of resale to island residents, leaves it open as if we're just gonna take this amount. I just feel like people need to be prepared for the fact that this is not in fact kind of like an unending service. This is there is a limit to what they can buy, and there's limit to.
Yeah, I'm not clear, is it 10 auto, 10 passenger and 10, is it, or
Yes,
just, is
I
it
would-
10 altogether, you can have like
I would-
3 cars.
I don't know that I would want to put that number in necessarily, but just that we do, I would want it. I don't know.
I think this is where like it's detailed out in the memo, so I think we just say per
Well, that's-
program memo.
Yeah, and that certainly can go after the warrants or in the town report, make sure that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And there's a
that,
lot in, a lot of memos, I mean, it's a lot of reading, and in there, it does mention general fund, where the money's coming from. but-
Yeah.
Well, then I would motion that we say that we don't take a position regarding the passage, or we don't recommend the passage. Sorry.
Right.
I misread. Do we need a motion on that and approve it as a board, or do we just say that and that's what we're doing?
I hear the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, Pete.
Aye.
Jay, aye.
And putting in there a limited number of
No.
tickets? No.
I would say but I would reference
Yeah,
per the,
Documentation, whatever. it's called.
whatever the heading is on that piece of
Right.
paper.
Well,
yeah, I might list all.
one
three of them.
question, Shay, is John King or somebody else going to be at the town meeting to answer all these questions?
Yes,
I hope so.
Very,
How many tickets? Who gets them? How many cars? I mean, I think it's up to this subcommittee to answer all those questions.
Does the select board want to write up a statement on the position that they're taking? To present at the public info meeting?
I think that if we do, it's gonna come across like the debate thing that I championed for last time, that I have been persuaded is not a good idea. So I think that we just let them do it. And then if people have questions about why it's a bad idea, because we don't wanna back up the person.
right. I mean, I think our answer is pretty simple. Like we felt really strongly that we needed to reduce the size, right, be conservative of the size of the budget. No, I think that's good.
I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No. And unfortunately, that was a difficult decision that we made in eliminating from the select board proposed budget.
Right.
yeah, I like the word context that Peter used, so, giving people the context, because
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm happy to draft a statement that I could say at town meeting if or when it comes up.
that's a good point. All right, let's move on.
Great.
Yeah.
I just agree with you in the first place. I don't think we need to go any farther than say we don't recommend it. I think if people have questions and concerns, this allows us to say, you know what? This wasn't our thing. We didn't want to, we didn't think it should go, but the more they push for it, and if you've got questions, take it to them. But
And just out of curiosity, where do you see this going on the agenda? Early on the warrant?
Are we
or-
first or?
After midnight, Janet.
We
go first this year.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, so it could go after elections.
I
It could
preferred
go,
last year.
no, I showed the town report.
I have a question. Is there a reason why we do elections before we do the warrants?
Just because they always have done those and got them out of the way.
Talking with people in line in the ferry the other day, it was, well, I'm gonna show up to vote for my friend and then I gotta go. What if we switch it and do the warrants first? That way it's there in front of everybody. And then if you still wanna vote for,
Susie or Billy.
thank you, on the board, then you get to stay and be a part of the public process to do it. That is my motion. I like this idea.
Yeah, I like that idea
I
too.
second that. Second.
And then everybody
So
can
you
sit and
felt-
wait.
I think that's a good idea. It kind of-
At the end of after the school and everything, the very last.
Elections would be held at the end of the meeting.
For everybody.
Everybody.
School and,
Yes.
And we said any of us up here having to like, if they were to get voted off, I mean, not that either anyone break running, I guess, I don't know what the situation is, but they don't have to sit there for 8.5 hours with like the impending, your replacement waiting for you, you know?
And then I think it's more fitting too, because then we can get the new people, or if there are any new people, get them in. We loosely use out.
and then I would,
But
want-
you-
I personally would want this, this warrant article after the town budget is approved. Just so that we can say, here is, we can discuss what the select board recommends, and then,
That's a good-
Yes.
and then after that, if people approve it and they would like to add something else, then they have the opportunity to do so.
Perfect idea.
So town, then ferry ticket article?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you think, then go to school.
This does set a precedent, oh, we gotta understand too, which I really dislike. That, we voted something down and we let someone bring it in.
Officially.
I just wanna be on the record.
Mhm.
I don't like that. Cause it's, our people voted us to do this job and now we're being,
Sorry.
yeah, so anyway.
Can we move the date of town meeting, or is that already chiseled?
No, unless it's going earlier.
No, no, I was actually gonna propose May 9th, because he's
Oh.
got child graduation, and so I was just gonna kick it for a weekend that way. We
No, it
could,
could go later, I guess, if the school's available, it depends on the.
it's not later, it can't go any later.
It can't
than
go
6
earlier.
So,
I can't,
Oh my God, I'm running way behind right now.
fair, but yeah.
You know, after that is Memorial Day weekend, like it's, yeah,
We've had it in June.
I don't care. We're not having it in June.
June, maybe July,
Shay
Shay.
wants to give up. the second-
I'm trying to be.
I would
also like to propose April 25th.
Okay,
For what?
this is it is. All right,
Fine,
let's,
sorry.
let's move on to,
Wait a minute.
I tried for you.
I'd love to be-
Elections.
What?
She's writing the order of how we're gonna
I'm just
do it.
making sure I get your order.
Thank you. I think you guys are supporting that too. It made sense when somebody brought it to me and
yeah,
said,
no, I agree.
everybody bounces after the
If
election.
you wanna participate,
First time I ever heard.
participate.
Actually, that was a motion that was seconded, but there was no vote.
Thank you for keeping us honest. So the, that is for this? Or
No,
or was that
no,
to?
It was for the order of
Oh,
town meeting
okay.
proceeding.
So,
a motion.
I think you already did. She just said there was a motion in a second, and now all in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Melissa. Aye. Steve,
Aye.
Pete.
Yep.
Shay, aye. Excellent. All right, let's move on to assess current planning board fees. We have a memo here from Dave.
He couldn't be here tonight, but he thought, you all, if you want to look it over and, it's up to you all what you do with it. But this is just his first attempt at it.
I mean, I like the idea of revisiting it. I like the idea of increasing the fees. I feel like it would be helpful to just have a little bit more context as far as why these numbers versus something else is my feeling, just in case people ask us. I think just having information about the recommendation would be helpful, but,
Well, I gave him some other towns,
Okay.
3 or 4
yeah.
towns, and they vary so much.
The only one that I had I don't, no business adjusting any sort of land use fee or assessment fees, like, I don't know how that money is spent or why it was set that way. But my question though would be that there's a penalty fee for activity which was requiring a permit that has begun prior to the permit, going from 100 to 300, which you know, if you don't get your permit, then you get caught, I guess that's, because I wonder why I would double or triple. As opposed to just. Yeah, everything else went up like $10, but then that one shot way, way up. I don't know if there was a logic behind that or.
I can ask
I have
him if he has a,
Possible theory, but I'm not gonna say it.
There's been,
Mhm.
nope, I think I'm talking out of turn.
Yep,
Yep, that's why. And I'm all for it.
yeah, I'm not opposed to it, I'm just curious how they went.
It just helps
like,
keep people
what
honest, and then
Yeah.
if you, I mean, a $10 additional $100 fee isn't anything. You're gonna hurt, if you're going to make them learn that they have to pull their permits, then
Oh, and then
Take it out of their wallet.
As well.
what would?
Dots went from 75 to 150.
Yeah.
Which is also a much higher.
Mm.
But if it gets, I mean, but if it gets us more in line with like what the standard operating procedure is in other towns, you know. I don't think they.
I think we were actually losing money on dogs, weren't we?
on docks?
How would we be losing money
How
on
would
docs?
you make 75?
Are you doing boat docs or documents?
No, this is the permit to build a dock.
$75.
Never mind. When we were talking about waste and stuff like that 2 years ago, with me, you, Jeff and Jordy, we were talking about how much paper and everything else went through and the
Oh.
documentation process.
Oh.
So I thought I went shorthand
Yeah, gotcha.
with documents, not.
Yeah.
So
So just, do people feel comfortable approving this tonight, or do you wanna look at it and ask Dave to come in at our next meeting?
I'm comfortable approving it, but I would love, just like, if there's anything we can give us at some point to help us, so if someone questions us, why would this happen, it would be nice for us to be able to say why, you know, but otherwise, I think it seems reasonable.
You mean why you're increasing the rates?
Yeah, you know, like, if, like, you
You
know,
asked. Did the board ask?
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, Dave didn't come up with the idea to raise the rate.
Right, I think he just meant a justification for the.
Yeah, just like, if there's anything other than us just needing to generate more revenue, that's fine, but.
Yeah.
And if that's as simple as, then, you know, I don't need to hear any more from them, I was just saying, I like it.
They haven't changed since 2009.
Correct, whatever he said.
Yeah, they haven't changed since 2009, and they were done in looking at other towns.
I gave him, I think it was Lincolnville, Northport.
Yeah.
North Haven.
Right.
South Haven.
I mean, I should approve the.
Yeah,
fee schedule.
I think that's.
Second?
Right.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Peter, Melissa? Aye. Steve? Pete?
Aye.
Shay? Aye. All right, great. No new business, no other business. Next up, let's approve warrant number 21 for FY 26.
So moved.
Second,
You can-
all those in favor, Peter? Melissa? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Pete?
Yep.
Shay, aye.
There's two things you have to sign.
Oh, thank you. One was the
Sign mine.
payroll.
One's
and I-
mine and one's
Yep.
your guys'.
No, I just got a little sign happy.
I think
Sign
you
things
should
before
put-
they're approved here, Melissa.
No, I only signed the payroll.
No, you didn't.
My signature's not on that second page.
Okay.
So I went through and I thought it was 2 pages of the warrant, and then I looked at it and went.
Lucky for you, we helped you out there. All right, I have no comments tonight. Pete?
No.
Peter?
None.
Melissa?
No.
Steve?
None.
Excellent. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yay. All in favor?
Aye.